What's up, everybody? This is Hawk. We're back here with the War Podcast. We're excited for the conversation you're about to hear us say. We got an awesome guest on. His name's Willie. We're excited to hear what he has to say. We had some dinner down here earlier tonight, and we have already got to know this dude, and I feel like he's like my brother already. So
magical conversations.
I think we'll start it off, and I say this all the time, but the reason why I love this disease and is because the people I feel the most comfortable. Like, you can get to know someone like that. You know what I'm saying?
Connect.
Like, I already know you.
Yeah.
You know, like, but I don't know you.
Well, I got a cool. It's not mine, but I got a really cool thing I use when I go and I speak at the treatment center on how we are connected and how I can prove that we are connected.
Right.
It's really interesting.
Tell us about it.
So, well, for example, like right now, you know, we all live in Ogden, Utah, right?
Right.
And so let's say we've never met and we go to a convention down in southern Utah and I sit down and I start talking to you and I find out that you're from Ogden. Automatically we recognize each other. We know where we're from. We recognize the culture that we're from.
Yep.
We recognize the area. We know that we're both from Ogden, and that connects us in that way.
We
Start asking
that
questions
alone,
about
right?
your neighborhood and, you know, different things that are like parts of the local life.
Now let's say I go to a convention in New York City and a guy from southern Utah goes to a convention in New York City. And we sit down and I see, you know, he's got a little beehive thing on.
He's from Utah, yeah.
I'm like, oh, you from Utah? He's like, yeah, I'm from St. George. I'm like, oh, I'm from Ogden, right? And all of a sudden we're connected like that, you know, because we're from the same, you know, we recognize Utah culture, you know. And this isn't just an addict thing. This is a person thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think Simon Sinek explained this. You know,
Really?
Yeah, Simon Sinek's good.
and so, you know, go on to explain, you know, let's say we go to a convention in Europe and I'm from Utah and I meet a guy from New York. Right.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, you're American. He's like, yeah, I'm an American, you know, and automatically we know the values, we know the culture, we know the scenery, we know holidays, you know, we know these things about each other. Automatically we're connected, you know, and you know, science willing, we'll be a galactical traveling, you know, species one day, and we'll go to a convention on another moon, another planet or whatever. Oh, you're from Earth? I'm from
Earth, damn.
I'm from Earth also. Right? Wow. And so these little boundaries are starting to be like obliterated because, you know, disease, no disease, you know, we are all mankind and we are all connected. And, you know, today, like you say, we get to be connected through our illness.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing that I like about the program. You hear in the rooms, you know, we have like a common problem and we found a common solution. And I think that's beautiful. And it's cool because there's so many things you can relate to, and you can come from all different walks of life, you know. You can like grow up like how you grew up or how I did, any of us, you know, and there's like so many differences, but then there's like the common problem that we can all relate to in one way or another through like stories or things we used to do or didn't do, you know.
It's the weirdest thing, the way that we will divide ourselves up into categories.
Yeah.
You know, that saying that there's boundaries on a round planet, you know, and we do that. Like we do that, you know. I'm a heroin addict, you know.
Right.
Same fucking as like.
I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a junkie.
Like we were talking, you know, like, oh, I eat way too many cookies. Right. Yeah. And we divide that up.
I don't eat cookies. I'm gluten free.
And so, and it boils down to like this stuff causes us emotional and spiritual anguish. It doesn't matter what we put in our bodies. It's the way that it affects us.
Wow.
That connects us.
That kind of permeates our culture nowadays, this divisiveness. And even if you look at the marketing in Apple, like the iPhone, and this is all about me and my identity. You see it in politics, you know, the Republicans, the libtards, and them like, the stupid Trump people in their wall. And it's just, all it is divisiveness to like try to get you into your isolated little group. And even more than that, as like an individual who's different from everybody else.
Right.
Wow.
And there's like a marketing that's behind that because people like to feel unique. And especially for addicts and alcoholics, we have that to the extreme, you know, the terminal uniqueness. Like when I first walked into the rooms, I wasn't an addict. I wasn't an alcoholic. Like, you know, I just ran into a couple problems. You guys are messed up, but not me. So there's something to that, but like you said, it does create a barrier, and I like how you said it, like a spiritual anguish. It's a cool way to put it. We need to start breaking that down.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said what did you say? It's how we're affected is how we're connected. How did you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How we're affected is, it's so true, man. Well, if you think about just when we first started sitting down and talking, I didn't even know you. I just, I mean, I knew that you were going to be on the podcast. I had met you before. This is just about 2 hours ago. I go downstairs. He's sitting with Avery, and I'm like, "You're Will." Sit down, and first thing he does is basically, you know, hey, is that the stuff that got stolen? And just asking about the podcast equipment, which did get jacked. So anyone out there, if there's any addicts that were popping in cars about 3 weeks ago that got any camera equipment, just know that's for a podcast trying to help people, and please try to return it. We won't ask any questions.
Yeah.
That being said, you asked me that, and then you said, oh, is that the shit you used to be into, jacking cars?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that wasn't my stuff. But then you started sharing your stuff, and we just started bonding instantly over being victims of theft, the same stuff we used to permeate out in the world.
Right.
You know, that's how we connected, at least
Yeah.
you and I at first.
Yeah. Dan told me about it, and so I'm glad you got some back. But that's the world out there. Right?
Yeah.
That's the like
with the disease.
like how do you work a 9 to 5 and support a heroin and meth habit?
Right.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah.
Or most, heroin and
I mean,
meth addicts don't even have the 9 to 5, or they'll lose it quickly,
yeah.
And so you have to solely, keep it going through theft or
You
whatever
certainly
plans you come up
Yep.
with. Yeah.
You certainly aren't putting the $1,000 camera you lost on your credit card
Yeah.
Right.
for a
Not your
podcast.
credit card, maybe someone else's
Yeah.
credit
Someone
card.
else's credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's the crazy thing about it.
No, and you can put it in your veins. Why put it to use, right? I mean, that's the way it's seen. But you were saying that back in the day, jacking was some of the stuff you used to do.
So I mean a little bit on it. Like I was always selfish.
Right.
Like I didn't. It took me a lot of step work to understand the depth of my selfishness. Because I felt entitled to everything. Even as a child, I felt entitled to everything.
Right.
And I hope I never forget the experience I had with understanding what a gift was, because my selfishness had no bounds. Like I took from everybody,
Right.
In my disease, nobody is safe from me.
Right.
Children, parents, grandparents, nobody. And so, I was processing my life early in recovery and thinking about the gift of recovery, because, it's freely given.
Right.
You give it to me
Right.
free.
Yeah.
Because it was something, and a gift is something given to somebody. You give me a gift with the intention of making my life better.
Right. Nothing in return. Yeah.
Like
given
you
without
just want to make my
expectation.
life better.
Yeah,
So when
exactly.
I was a kid, nothing was good enough. So grandma would send me whatever she sent me. I was never satisfied. Like thanks, grandma.
God damn, only $20, Grandma.
$25. Fuck, thanks a lot, grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stingy.
It's my birthday.
She just wanted to make my life better.
Right.
She doesn't know how much a fucking sack of weed costs when you're 12. Right? Right? She doesn't know you can only get so much for that.
Right. Exactly.
So it was never thank you. It was always not enough. And
Right.
so because that wasn't enough, I went and took other people's stuff to make it enough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. There was no boundaries there, and the people that I ran with didn't even, I didn't even share the depths of my destruction with my friends. I didn't. It's not like I would show up with a pocket full of money and explain to them that I stole this out of my mom's work safe, which
Right.
is a true story.
Right.
Like,
Damn.
I didn't talk about that. Or all right, I got this money out of my nephew's piggy bank here.
Right.
Or I stole this from my girlfriend's mom or wherever, that kind of stuff I kept secret because there was still a level of respect spoken within the street community,
Right.
even in a gang, like you don't do that. Family,
Of course. Yeah.
They're off limits.
but I
You earn
did
it,
do
yeah.
that. That's the
Yeah.
stuff that
Oh,
I
absolutely.
did, and so like you were saying, I had my truck stolen last year, which was 6 years sober. I was
Right.
6 years sober. I had my work truck, and
You have tools and stuff in
yeah,
it. Yeah.
and the truck actually, the title belongs to my dad, but he's like always like, here, know. So I had it for a long time, and I put new tires on it. I had all my tools in the back of it,
New
and
engine.
I had it brand new. Yeah, that engine in it wasn't very old, and I had all my tools. I parked it on a project, one that Dan was helping us on, that 2204 down there, a historical building.
I remember
which,
that morning.
Which was yeah. I showed up in my
Did you
truck.
take the
was-
truck, Dan?
I showed up and my truck was
Now
gone.
that you're
and
here,
I-
we
and
gotta
I was
ask you
like,
some
Actually,
questions.
yeah. Though we went to what Tremont? We,
Oh, when
we
they-
ended up
when-
driving.
when
I
they
ended up
found it.
driving you up to Tremont
When they found
so
it,
you could
yeah.
pick it up.
Yeah.
And they stole all the tools out of the
Everything.
back. They're like, you're like, I don't really. The truck's fine. I just want my tools.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, that's not what happened.
Yeah. You know, that
Tools
was like
were
3
usually the
weeks.
number one
You
thing
end
I
up
went
getting- you end
through
up
in my
getting-
addiction. I went for in my addiction.
That's
I stole power tools from so many different places.
That's wild.
And then working construction last year, having my own, like I'd be like, that'd be so shitty if these were
Oh,
taken.
your
but-
livelihood.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and
Exactly.
you don't. I never considered that.
Right.
You know, when I would be jacking cars or whatever, I didn't consider how that affects other people's lives
Right.
ever. You know,
Wow.
and like with that whole thing, like when they stole my truck and the feeling that I had, the uncertainty that I had, the dis-ease
Yeah.
that came along with that.
It's not just
You
your
know?
things being taken; it's like your sense of security
Yeah.
and comfort
And
as well, which
Being
is
violated.
an emotional thing that's hard to even put a price on.
Yeah, well, and one of the, like, I'm a pretty solid, like emotionally today, I'm a very solid and level-headed person. Now, put me in a lady's car where I take her purse, her ID, her credit cards
Yeah.
inside of her vehicle that nobody else gets in, and imagine the amount of fear that overcomes that person.
Right.
Because not everybody has the lifestyle where there's guns being pulled and people are getting beat up and there's drug deals going wrong and those kind of things. You know, a lot of people live in
Yeah, most don't.
a fairly unchaotic standard life where, you know, the biggest problems they have are things like their cat dying or fucking, you know, getting a bill that's higher than normal or
Right.
something like that, you know. And now all of a sudden there's this fucking drug addict that's ravaging their property, and the amount of fear that can come along with that, you know, and that can be for a person that's unlike myself an absolute life-changing situation, right? You know, and that's what it
Absolutely.
is. Like the selfishness in the disease is so blinding. It's so blinding that when we get on the other side of this thing, the amount of work that goes into understanding the amount of damage that we do is astronomical. Like we have to do a crazy amount of work to get outside of the selfishness that we get into in order to affect the world around us in a way that's positive to the point where people's lives are safer, people's
Right.
lives are being changed, and we're able to connect with people that aren't just addicts, but you know, people that are non-addicts and people that are victims of addicts who are also victims of the disease, right? Because I don't fucking do that shit today.
Right.
I have no desire to go and fucking wreck some poor lady's life
Yeah.
by getting $20 out of her purse and throwing all of her credit cards and life. And if you've ever lost your wallet, that's a pain in the ass.
Oh,
in
it's
itself.
terrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let alone somebody stealing your shit. So
Well, you had even mentioned that in your truck, you know, after you'd been violated, even though you got it back, you didn't want to let your kids in it.
No.
You're like, just this energy. There's just some
Yeah.
energy in here.
and they're shooting up and smoking meth in there. You know, my kids have
Right.
never been exposed to any of that stuff. I mean, very, very, very little. You know, like family members that smoke,
Right.
but drunk people, no.
Yeah, that's cool.
My kids are, you know, and it's not that they're going to grow up naive. They're going to grow up very educated on
course.
exactly what's going on, how it affects their minds, how it affects their bodies, and what the options are when it comes up. You know, they have to be.
I love hearing you talk about your kids and family and the way you're raising them.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about down at dinner, you know. So why don't you tell us a little more about your family, like your kids,
Yeah.
and well, just I want our listeners, because
Yeah.
we got a lot of people out there that are listening that I think would like to hear your story with you and your wife, and like kind of what you shared down, how you guys were. If you want to get into that,
Sure. Yeah.
you know,
I
about how
mean,
you guys met and kind of grew up using together
Yeah.
and all that. I like, and then how you and going a little bit about your family.
So for both of us, it was always there, right? Like from the day that we were born, you know, we grew up in an oil field town during the oil field boom in Wyoming, and that's what people did. You know, if the women worked, they worked hard, and all the men worked. And when they were done working, they drank. And if they drank, they probably did dope. But like I'm certain when I came home in the car, I didn't come home in a car seat, right? And they were smoking in the fucking car on the way home right after birth. And so like it was just prevalent. Like people drank and people smoked and fought, and that was the way that we grew up, you know. And like me, fortunately, I never had to go through a divorce, but she went through a few with her parents and moved around a lot. But you know, I was always attracted to it. You know, I watched the older people drink, and I wanted to drink.
Right.
You know, I wanted what they had. But you know, I got into some trouble, obviously, my whole life. But I got into some serious trouble when I was 15 for robbing a bar. I went to juvie. Me and another guy had popped the back doors off of a bar in Evanston, and we robbed it. Like we got away once. We filled up 3 or 4 milk crates full of liquor and cigarettes, and
How old were you?
Good time. We were 15.
Okay.
I think I did the exact same thing in Idaho, but it was like a Mexican restaurant. And when I was 15 or 16, my friends and I just, you know, popped open the back after hours and just stole all their crates of Pacifico and Corona
Yeah.
and stuff too. And
Oh, we were balling,
yeah.
robbing
Absolutely.
cars, drinking every night. Well, we ran out. You know,
Of course.
had to fucking get more. Need
So
more.
you went back.
Went back, got arrested. I went to a juvenile facility in Torrington, Wyoming. It's called St. Joe's at the Newell Center, which was the most locked down facility for youth at the time, for an evaluation, for a psych evaluation. And I do good on paper, right? Like
You can put the face on and
yeah. I've always been likable. Adults have always liked me. You know, that's one of the things that I've been outspoken, and I can connect and see. And even when I was a kid, the adults recognized my unique ability to speak with wisdom, and that brought a lot of ego and a lot of problem, because I could sit across from a cop or a judge or a counselor and convince them that if I'm not okay right now, I'll be okay very soon.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
And so, con man, you know. But when I was locked up, I went back home. After my evaluation, I did about 60 days over there, something like maybe longer. I don't know. That was a long time ago.
Right.
But I went home and went to a new facility for youth there called the Crisis Center, and it was a live-in facility. But we interacted with the public, and the judge gave me the opportunity to either go back to high school, you know, because I was a freshman. I think it was my second freshman year, or get my GED. And because that was an option, you bet I got my GED.
Right.
So I turned 16, got my driver's license. I got off probation. While I was locked up, I met her brother. She's the youngest of 3. I met her brother, and we later met after that. But so I graduated. I got a driver's license. Got off probation. My family lived in a hotel. My mom was a manager of a hotel up there, and we lived in an apartment behind it. So when I graduated, I had a car, and she gave me my own room, and I didn't have to pay anything. So for the next couple years, I didn't have to go to school. I didn't have to work.
Wow.
I had a car. I was a gang member and a drug dealer, and that's what I did as a kid.
Wow.
Right?
Was it Bates Motel?
No, I was a drug dealer. There was no baiting in that hotel.
It's funny. I really relate to what you said about being able to connect with adults, or whether it be a cop or a lawyer or
Yeah.
a judge. Because
Absolutely.
I definitely had that too. And then when I got into college, I started selling drugs for some gangs and gang members in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And it was almost like this rush
Yeah.
like of feeling powerful, where I could go to like a law class, talk to the dean of USC Law School. I could go talk to, you know, the girl at Starbucks, the homeless guy in the street, chop it up with gang members, and like be able to put on all these faces and like all of these different
Yeah.
situations.
Change
And it
my
was like
hat,
it
change
was
my
this
hat,
rush,
change my
yeah.
hat.
Just being able to do that, and that was part of my addiction. In addition
For sure,
to the
the
drugs,
lifestyle.
was the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Of being able
Yeah.
to be a chameleon, do whatever, and like
Also-
not be out of place.
Oh, dude, I'm with you. I
So-
mean, when I was facing the 30 years federal mandatory minimum, when I was looking at that, I was on the Judicial Council of Westminster College and the president of the Pre-Law Society. You know what I mean? And just, I agree with what Frank said. Like,
Of course you are.
just
Yeah.
totally vibing with it. You know, like, dude, this is a separate addiction. Being able to be two totally separate worlds. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's why we're the lucky ones. You know, we get
Right.
two lives in one you know, two lives in one lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So-
like manipulation, and then you get around it and you change your life like you have in this big way, and now you're a persuader. Now you
I
can
try
like,
to be.
now you persuade people, but it's the same gift. But like
Yeah.
now you have the ability to persuade. Like I'm listening to you talk. I bet you can persuade a lot of people to get to hear you. You know
it's
what I'm
turning
saying?
your past mistakes and
The
faults into gifts and
Yeah.
assets.
And lessons, yeah.
Yeah,
I,
that's-
I really try to help people understand that it's inside them,
Right.
right.
and they can do it.
Right.
This can be done. This is a winnable fight.
Right.
I
It
remember
is.
when I was first introduced to the rooms, I used to just have that mindset of it not being possible, or there'd be like a H&I panel that would come, and people were like, I have 2 years sober. I'm like,
Right.
that's fucking impossible. And like literally thinking to myself, this guy's lying. This guy smokes weed on the weekends.
'Cause
or
how could
drinks
he
or
not?
Does whatever. Like, because people can't live without that. And I didn't think that it was possible. Or when I started
I'm
to
that way with
realize
food.
that it was possible for some people to get sober, like not for me though.
I'm that way with like sweets.
Oh yeah.
People are like, I haven't had any sugar in 5 years.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Fucking bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking
I haven't had a carb since 2001.
Yeah, whatever. You lie.
Lies.
So I mean, anyway, bringing it back around to your question, like I mean, she has like we could spend 2 hours talking about, but bringing it back to the question of our children.
Oh yeah.
We came to Ogden, and I shared a little bit about us getting arrested together. Well, you know, because we were co-defendants, we weren't supposed to hang out.
Right.
But what were we
Hell
gonna,
no.
What were we going to do? Like, and we tried to explain this to probation and parole, and we tried to explain this to the judge. Like, fuck, we live together. All of our shit is in the same house. And they said, we don't care. You're not special. Right? So, 6 months, don't see each other, do the right thing. So the day that she got out of jail, I was already out, and we went straight to the probation office together.
Right.
Right? Sat down and said, look, what are we going to do about this? And they said, 6 months, don't hang out. We'll talk about it later.
Damn.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Okay. So she basically moved in with me that day. She had an apartment. I was living in a camper that my parents had brought down from Wyoming because we didn't have shit. You know, when we went to jail, the tweakers and the heroin addicts ransacked our fucking house, took everything. Anything of value was gone.
Oh, wow.
What wasn't of value, somehow her brother put into a storage unit for us. So when we did get out, we had a whole bunch of garbage in a storage unit
Nice.
Right.
that we threw away. But I was staying in a camper, and she had a separate address. Anyway, you know, we were living risky,
Right.
right? Because on our probation and parole, a violation was being with each other. You know, don't get high, don't steal anything, don't kill anyone, don't hang out with Avery. You know,
Yeah.
get a job. You know, I mean, that was a listed thing, and we couldn't do it. And so her dad was coming to Utah, to Provo, and I had never met her dad. She hadn't seen him in 10 years. So we decided that we were going to go down and see her. But, I mean, to back up a little bit, we decided we wanted to be parents,
Yeah.
and we started trying.
Right.
So all three of our children we had with intention.
Right.
Okay,
Wow.
we had them on purpose. The first one, Isaac, is just super amazing,
Right.
beautiful kid, super big heart, great big brother. He teaches me so much. He's so patient with me.
Wow.
You know, he's great. You know, we have a good time. But we were trying and, you know, because I had never had protected sex the whole time that I ever had sex.
Right.
The fact that I didn't have any children was kind of a surprise, and we were trying and I didn't think it was going to happen, and I was kind of falling into the idea of not having, you know, like, fuck, maybe we'll just have nice shit and fuck,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever.
Use our money for
you
something
know.
else.
She let me know that she was pregnant. It was a beautiful
Oh,
day.
wow.
You know, we were super excited about it, and everybody thought we were fucking crazy, and they were right. You know, so before Isaac was born, you know, we were going to go down and see her dad in Provo. And I had a Cadillac that I had bought from a heroin addict for $800. So this guy come over while we were using. Yeah, it was his grandma's car. He brought this car.
Good deal.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was nice.
Jeez.
Still have it.
I'll
No.
take a caddy for 800.
I have a nice Cadillac now.
Good.
I have a really nice Cadillac. But we were driving down there, and I was on the phone with, like, I wanted her to drive because I was on the phone with my sponsor, right? You know, I'm like, well, we're like 8-9 months sober. Like, we weren't sober very long. I don't think it could have been a year.
It's cool you were taking it seriously though.
Yeah.
Like had the sponsorship
Yeah.
and doing everything, you know,
Good
the right
point.
way. Besides, you know, living together, which you're not supposed to.
We weren't
but
supposed to.
Still,
Yeah,
it's
fuck,
everyone
whatever.
makes mistakes, but it's cool seeing
Yeah.
that you took it seriously and grabbed a hold of it.
Yeah. And so I'm on the phone. She's nervous because she's got daddy issues, obviously. And
We hadn't talked to him in 10 years.
yeah. Yeah. And it's a whole dysfunctional fucking thing, too. You know, I mean, like, her story's pretty great. But we get down to Salt Lake, and she wrecks the car on I-15 during rush hour across that fucker and just pow, runs the Cadillac into
Just
the
an
side.
accident?
Yeah.
You,
Going
you,
too fast.
You both are in the car.
Yeah, going
and
too
you're
fast,
pregnant.
and she's pregnant.
Ooh.
Go. You weren't pregnant yet? I keep thinking she was pregnant. I don't know. Anyway. Maybe she wasn't pregnant. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Still,
Anyway.
it's an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. Didn't you go to court pregnant? For that? Oh, anyway. There's some
Court
stuff.
dates take a while.
Yeah,
to
there's some
develop,
stuff
though.
going on. She was pregnant. We're still dealing with it.
So you had to go to court.
And-
you had to go to court for it, or you
Anyway,
had to go to court for it.
Oh yeah, like
Reckless
we're-
or something.
we got sued. Shit. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
It was
Not
it was
criminal though.
No, it was a bad deal, but we were on probation and not supposed to be hanging out.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
we just wrecked the fucking car on I-15 during rush hour. Took out a couple other cars, and said, "Fuck, we're going to jail." Right. So we called the POs, tell them what's going on. I called my boss at the time, tell him, well, I'm probably going back to jail. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Like I violated, and we got pulled in. She got pulled into the office. I called my PO a couple days later and said, just fucking move in together. Don't make us regret it.
Oh,
Wow,
really?
man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
So huge burden lifted, and we were able to start this life, you know,
Oh,
free and
dude,
clear.
that's sick.
So
Yeah.
because you call it, because I know that when you get police contact, you're required to report.
Yeah.
And so that's why you were reporting, was basically, hey, I had police contact.
Yep.
There was an accident. And he probably was rewarding you almost for maybe doing the right
Well,
thing.
I-
Like, hey, a lot of people wouldn't call this in. They
Instead
just
of being
run.
dragged in on a warrant or
Yeah,
something.
but you were being honest.
I mean, we were taking sobriety really seriously.
Clearly.
That's
you
what
know,
I could
like-
tell, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
regardless of where, like if the camper was the best that we did, that's what we were gonna do, you know, and that I'm grateful that that's not the end of the story, but I mean that's where it started,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, and so I guess you know my time's messed up because I think, you know, we've been together for what 7 months, 7 or 8 months, you know, and it's been a wonderful 7 or 8 months this far.
Okay, dude, I thought you were meaning 7 or 8 months at the time of the accident.
No, I mean today.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah,
my
10 years in October, she's
my
saying.
my timeline's a little messed up. But,
I was catching that.
what
I was
the
like,
heck?
I was like,
What?
wait, I'm confused. But you were sober 9 months.
somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, after 6-7 years, you know, I got 7.5. She'll have 8. You know, the first, the timelines get skewed, but the points of that and the way those things made me feel stay with me.
Absolutely.
Right.
man.
So I know for sure how I felt when I found out Avery was pregnant with my first child.
Right.
Whether I was 6 months sober or a year, I'm not sure. But
You know how it felt.
What did it do
I
to you?
remember
What did
the
it
day.
do to you? Like
So-
when you had that baby.
So, well, I mean, first off, the first thing when I found out that she was pregnant and she told me she was pregnant, the very first thing that came to my mind was, what am I going to tell him about Santa Claus?
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
I think about that shit.
I'm
too.
dead serious because
Dude, yeah, I was
because-
thinking about it 2 days ago.
like the whole the entire scope of mistrust in my life began with that fucking guy.
Dude, we have a
Yeah.
lot of similarities. When I found out Santa Claus wasn't real, I ran away from my house and like
was
camped in my
devastating.
neighbor's yard for like 2 days.
Devastating.
It was like a big deal.
Devastating because the people that raised me from not being fucking lied to me.
About the thing you were most excited about, probably.
I got in a fight with Gary, a fist fight, because he told me Santa wasn't real, and I said, "Fuck you."
This was
Why-
a kid?
Yeah, why would my parents lie to me?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
And
That's
then
kind of how mine went. I
and then
didn't get in a
kinda-
fight, but I was pretty mad. And it was a
Yeah.
kid that told me. It was another kid that
And-
told me.
and
instead of
that
my
was that
parents.
was deep for me. Like, you know, people that, oh fuck yeah, lie to your kids.
Yeah, my parents aren't going to do that, is what you're thinking.
Yeah. You know, and they do without even thinking, why would you lie to your kid about
It's
that?
a harmless thing. It's supposed to be fun.
It's not.
Yeah.
For me, it was not.
Right.
Right.
No, me neither.
It was a big deal.
Well, I guess you could look at Santa as just being always real, but just like
Having to be a
in
spirit of joy.
You know, it's
Well,
like the spirit
By,
of like,
by no means are we grouches.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm guessing you guys don't do Santa.
We do Santa.
Or you do Santa, but you let him know that he's not a real person.
We let them know that
Santa's
the
mom and
spirit
dad.
of Santa is neat, and you should read the actual history of Santa Claus. If
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The
the
tru-
history's
the-
pretty
the-
dark.
the true story of Saint Nick and what a dowry is and the reasons for them and who
Right.
that guy was. But I mean, the idea of Christmas is, you know, Christmas is for the kids. Why wouldn't you know? But I mean, it fucked me up, and that was the start of my mistrust towards authority and all that stuff.
Wow.
So you know,
That's something to think about.
through that process, you know, we started taking a look at and made the decision that we weren't going to wing being parents. You know, everything that, you know, our parents did, they fucking did it either off of what their parents did without asking any questions. I do it because this is what my mom did. And like, how does that work? How's that working out?
Or
for
just
us?
what society did, or,
Or
just
what society
how they feel.
did. Or,
Yeah.
yeah. And so
That's something that stuck out to me when you said like you had all your kids with intention. You know, because we talked a little bit about it at dinner, but it's not just you're saying like, oh, none of our kids were accidents. It's the way you raise them is with intention too,
Absolutely.
which is a
Absolutely.
beautiful thing.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, we were hoping for a girl on the first one, and we had a little boy. And then we were hoping for a girl on the second one, and we had a little boy.
Hmm.
And
And
so
the third one?
third one, we had a little girl, and now we're done.
Right.
So, but you know, I knew from being a child, because I have a vivid memory, not so much like I said of timelines, but the way things made me feel,
Right.
that I have to absolutely be aware of what it is I'm doing and why with my children. You know, why am I doing this thing with my kids? Why am I doing this thing with work? Why am I doing this thing? And we decided that we're not going to make excuses to make our lives convenient, because they're too important. The children that we're raising, we can't do anything about the state of the society or other people's kids or how other people raise their families or the homelessness of children in this country and in the world. You know, the epidemic of unstable people. But what we can do is absolutely raise our children on purpose and with intention.
Wow.
But in order for us to do that, we better have a fucking plan.
Right.
And a solid base and a solid foundation for yourselves.
So yeah. And so recovery, you know, recovery was staple. I have to know me. I have to know what my triggers are. I have to know how to figure out what those are. I have to know how to go deep. I have to ask myself questions, and I've had an amazing partner in this where she's allowed me the time that I need to go and be at the monastery with the monks on a 24-hour vow of silence, or, you know, to be at the library writing out my step work, or be in the office, or whatever it is that the processing that I need to do for myself. She's allowed me to do that without taking it personal, without getting offended, because I need this in order to process who I am and what's going on with myself. And the steps were absolutely what worked for me. You know, step 1, 2, and 3.
Absolutely.
You know, step 4, I did an absolute honest 4th step. My 5th step with my sponsor took 2.5 days, you know, like long days to process all that. You know, step 6 and 7.
All of them. I was just thinking through them: 6,
Yeah,
7,
you
8, 9, 10, 11. Like all of them have
of
their time and
you know.
place and just immense importance.
And you can absolutely see the difference in the recovery. You know, people can have really good recovery on 1, 2, and 3. They can have really great recovery on, you know, 1 through 6. You know, but the people that have worked an honest 1 through 12 have long-term, generally, you know, long-term quality sobriety.
Wow.
And are helping other people do this stuff.
Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path.
Yeah.
You really need, you got to tell the story about the mountain trip and doing that little
The
self-searching
The walkabout.
the
I'll do another-
walkabout.
Yeah.
You got to tell that story, because
What's the walkabout?
the most epic
So-
story I've
so-
ever heard in my entire life.
So, yeah. So the process, you know, I have to find myself. I have to,
Yeah.
right? And so, I mean, like, the reason that I did the walkabout, and what I did with the walkabout is I took some time and I climbed a mountain. I climbed up into the high Uintas by myself, and I did a fast and a vow of silence way up there. You know, it's like 7.5 miles up in the high Uintas to a lake. Well, and that may not. I can't remember numbers exactly. It took me like 7 hours to hike up there.
Right.
Right, lake called Lake Kermasu. It starts at Christmas Meadow Trailhead in the high Uintas, and the reason that I went up there is because I was really struggling with the God stuff.
Right.
One of the things that I do with my guys when I take on a sponsee is immediately we start talking about, what do you believe? Not what you say you believe or what you think you're supposed to believe. What do you believe? And how do we figure that out based on your actions, not on what you say or what you think your parents need you to hear or your spouse? What do you believe? You know, and we start processing that. And I spent the majority of my life trying to fall in suit with the Judeo-Christian God idea,
Right.
you know, the God of the Bible, because, you know, one of the things that I was given at birth was my religion, and I didn't know that it would ever be okay to turn away from that, you know. And so the problem with that was that I never believed it,
Right.
and I could prove that based on my actions, you know, because I read the Bible, I read the Book of Mormon. You know, I checked this stuff out. I spent a lot of years trying to grab a hold of this thing, and I never got it like other people seem to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that I was broken, and I heard another alcoholic in a meeting one day talking about his family as Christians, you know, like most of us Americans, you know, and I think when we call out the name of the religion, it gets all people's assholes pucker, because like, oh, you can't call out it, you
Right.
know, but that's what it is.
That's my religion.
You know, or that's not my religion,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. But I was, that's what I was trying to be. That's what my parents are. That's what the Bible's based on, which is the prominent religious book in our country. It's half of the prominent religious books in the state, right? You know, so there's 2 of them here. Probably ought to get to know them, but I couldn't grasp it, right? And so when, you know, this guy was talking about his family, And he finally told his family, look, I love you guys, but I'm not a Christian. And it was a fucking what? You could do that?
Right.
I didn't know that's an option,
Right.
you know, to not have that, you know, because before that, I thought that I was going to have to find that or eventually be doomed.
Right.
Right. So, you know, one of the most offensive things that I've ever heard.
Was this while you were doing your step 1, or was this?
No, this is
after you finished the steps.
This is after I finished
That's
the
what I
steps,
thought.
and this is all the way through the second time that I went
Yeah.
through the
Gotcha.
steps.
Yeah.
So,
It's a deep self-searching journey.
yeah, who
Right.
am I?
Yeah.
Who am I really? Not on
What
what
were
I
you
say.
saying? The most offensive.
One of the most offensive things that I've ever heard in the rooms is "fake it till you make it."
Yeah.
You know, and I know that we're supposed to do that, but that's what I did my whole life. You know, and
Faked it, never made it.
I get the idea of the simplicity of it. You know, take my God and make it yours till you find your own. Fake it till you make it. Well, this is a program of honesty. This is a program of realism. This, you know, I don't get to fake it. I don't get to fake my pain. I don't get to fake my issues. I don't get to fake what's going on, because when I'm faking a craving, then I end up faking that by myself and nobody knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and so
That's so interesting because
Wow.
I hear that too, and I almost disagree with it, but then I do see like some people that are able to do that kind of just go to treatment because their parents make them and they don't want to be there. Then all of a sudden, like somewhere along the way, something clicked. Like one of my old sponsors was like that too, where he got sent to a treatment center and then got out and started trying the steps, but he's like, fuck this, I'm not an alcoholic, blah, blah, blah. And then somewhere along the line, something clicked and now he has solid sobriety. But for me, I kind of almost believe what you do, where I want to start from the beginning with a solid step 1, you know that I'm doomed, like have that moment, you know, and I just want to understand everything and do it honestly and do it thoroughly, because that's without a strong foundation, like everything else will crumble.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and the good thing about the rooms too is different things work for different people. So the people that
Yeah.
are like you, I mean, there's some people like Frank said that fake it till you make it will work for, but there's other ones that are probably your sponsees that might hear something you say in a room and are like, oh my gosh, that's why I'm struggling through
Yes.
this thing, because I'm not able to connect. I'm not able to do what everyone else is telling me, and I'm just staying here just because I'm hoping I might be able to get something. Now I can actually start with someone where I feel like I need to start, and that's cool.
It's so
because it's
important.
needed.
It's
Yeah.
so important that I share this.
I
that-
agree.
that
It
it's
is.
okay. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how the first 100 got sober anymore.
Right.
How did the last 100 do it? How did the last 100 continue to do it? I mean, not that it doesn't matter, because it does matter, you know, but 1930 sobriety does not work in 2019, you know.
Right.
It might for a handful of people,
Right.
but
There's
times
certain
are
things
different.
that connect. Well,
And
just
so-
when I read the book the first time, or had a sponsor take me through it, I was amazed at how many things I related to.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Because I think
emotional
I
and
thought that
spiritual
where I was
parts
like,
of it.
fuck, in the 30s, like I can't even relate to any of those people. Like how
The
could I?
timelines.
But then it seems like the book was written for me. Or that whole section when it's like switch from scotch to brandy, it's like many of those
description.
certain things I didn't do, but the description of what that person is trying, I did do.
yeah, the
Yeah.
emotional.
I
part
tried
of it.
doing school. I tried doing too much school, not enough school. Like I tried working. I tried not working. I tried only smoking pot. I tried whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe certain details don't work, but the feeling and the reasons and the thought process and just the description of what alcoholism is as a disease
Right.
is what I related to. Not like, oh, I'm an alcoholic because I drank too much. Because if I went by that, no, I'm a drug addict. I'm a heroin addict or whatever. But the description of me being an alcoholic based on the disease of alcoholism is what I relate to in the book.
Right.
Just like the spiritual malady, mental obsession, physical allergy, like all of that. And the description of selfishness, like you were saying, you know, just that self-centered attitude and what we need to do to get out of it. And that's what worked for me.
Yeah, and it's still like that's the part that still works. That
Yeah.
process still works. The steps still work, you know. And it's weird coming out of alcoholic, you know, out of AA, where God is so prevalent, and to be able to work this thing without an actual
Higher power.
no, not a higher power. Like
You still find
God,
that.
Because that.
I have to have a power greater than myself.
Okay.
because
explain that.
I couldn't do it with just by myself. Like
Sheer
if I
force
could
of
have done
will.
it by myself, and so if I take the big
Yeah,
look at-
otherwise the steps don't matter. If you don't have a higher power, I think you have to have a higher power. Otherwise,
a power greater.
Greater
than
that's what I'm
yourself.
saying. Not God, but you're right, exactly. I guess I'm saying the same thing when I'm saying that. I'm separating higher power from God.
Right.
I'm saying you have to have a higher power.
Right. So
Something
I don't
greater than
I don't
yourself.
I don't believe in a deity, a creator. I don't believe, and it's funny because, you know, and there's so much that I could get into, and we're kind of getting all over the place.
Fine.
There's a
I
couple
love
there's a
hearing
there's
this.
a couple
Great.
there's a couple stories that we
perfect.
started with. We
Right.
started,
Right.
you know, tell us about your kids, tell us about the
Yeah,
walkabout,
but
but you know, these experiences that we have, you know, but coming out of getting to the understanding that I absolutely do not believe in God, because in the big book it says, you know, there either is a God or there isn't a God, you know. And what do we do when we're the people that come to the conclusion that there isn't a God,
right,
you know? Because that's an option right
Right.
there in
Sure
the big
thing.
book,
right.
right?
It's funny because I think a lot of people might think that with AA you
No.
need a God, but I see it like kind of like you see it, where there's a power greater than yourself. But I think the most important thing for me when I'm reading through that in the second and third step is that someone's in a place where they're willing to look
Willing.
at it. That's the most important thing, not whether or not this is what I believe or I don't believe. It's like if they're at a spot where they're willing to try, that's like what's needed in their character
and
to
I'm
get
still
sober.
willing. Like
Right.
I'm like
Yeah,
when I
that's
took
sick.
when I took my third step, that's what my sponsor emphasized with me is
Yeah.
willingness, right? And I'm still willing that if God comes down and sits next to me, see is
Well, the fact you went on the walkabout
the
too,
way
you're
that- the
willing
way
to
that
look
I
at
am-
yourself and discover.
see like the way that I am is I don't know what it would take for God to convince me that He exists,
Right.
but God absolutely knows what it would take. Therefore, if there is one, I need not worry myself with what that's going to take.
Right.
Right. And so when Bill W was standing in the lobby, you guys familiar with the
Yeah.
lobby story?
Yeah,
Right.
but not all listeners might be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
share
so-
it.
So Bill W went on a in the big book Alcoholics Anonymous.
One
Bill
of the
A
founders.
business trip.
went on a
Right.
business trip and it went like shit. Right.
Right.
It didn't go well. He was staying sober, and he was staying sober by helping other alcoholics. Right. And he was alone, and found himself in the lobby of a hotel in the 30s, which was where you wanted to be, in
Oh,
the
yeah.
lobby of a hotel.
Right.
And he had an option. In front of him was a bar that he could go drink to, and there was a phone that he could go make a phone call, right? And he talked about the way that made him feel. But what he did was he went and made a phone call. And as I processed how other people have stayed sober in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, is a lot of them would get a craving and they would pray and then they would call somebody.
Right.
And a lot of them would get a craving and they would pray and they wouldn't call somebody
And they'd go use or
and
drink.
they'd go fucking use. And I think to myself, why didn't that work?
Right.
Yeah. Where was the power needed in that prayer? And so I did an experiment early on in sobriety. When I was praying, I decided to stop praying. And I said, I'm gonna stop praying, because obviously God doesn't need my bullshit. He's got, you know, like football teams to win Super Bowls and you know, shit like that.
Right.
You know, God's got important stuff. You know, golf clubs to invent and shit like that. So he doesn't need my bullshit. So I decided that I would stop praying, and it was an interesting experiment, because it was hard to stop. Okay, it was hard to stop the self dialogue to something outside of myself, right? And start drawing that inward, that same energy on affirmations and positive self-talk and things like that. I felt lonely for a little while, and I started picking up the phone more. And I found that
Interesting.
it was the people. When I did my fifth step with my sponsor, me and a man from Alcoholics Anonymous got together and got transparent, right? When I go to a meeting and I see the newcomer stand up full of tears because they're back, humbled because of this disease, they come back to the people of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? And so the power that resides, that I find in this program, is the undying human power that we have with each other, the ability to take care of one another, that no other thing can, nothing works like it.
Which is a power greater than yourself.
Which is a power far greater than me.
Yeah.
You know? The big book says, you know, no human power could relieve my alcoholism, but if I take that and I say, no single human power could relieve my alcoholism, but me and you together, you know, you pop up in my life when I least expect it. Now, maybe that is God. I don't know. But I know for sure that you pop up when I least expect it. You pop up when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's happened time and time again. I mean, you hear it all the time. That what happened to the relapsers? What happened? Well, I stopped going to my meetings. Were you still praying? Yeah, I was still praying.
Yeah.
Then I stopped talking to my sponsor. Were you still praying? Yeah, I was still praying. Yeah. And then I went and seen my dealer, you know. And so the power needed was you guys. And I absolutely needed that man in my life who called me up, you know. And I told him early on, I'm like, dude, I have a problem calling you my sponsor. It makes me feel weird.
Right.
So I'm just going to call you bro. And he said, that's fine. Because all a sponsor is another, you know, another person to walk you through the steps the way that he was walked through the steps. And what comes out of that is a crazy, you know, just blossoming relationship where we get to find out who we are, you know. And that's what happened with me is I did the steps and I started finding out who I am and what I'm capable of. And I found out how dysfunctional I am and how much I hate myself and how, you know, I'm a self-mutilator, man. Like, it wasn't uncommon for me to fucking hurt myself physically out there, you know, physically, verbally, always violent, all the time. And I had to stop all that shit, you know. I had to find a new way to think about the world around me. And it blew up, man. It blew up, you know, moving from a camper into a mobile home that the landlords let us buy for $1,000 on $100 payments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And remodeling
up
that,
in the world.
you know, having the kids, making decisions that anybody can make, you know, like we're not special. We just took the understanding that there's different ways that we can choose to live, you know, and it's not going to be easy. It's never, you know, you get to a certain point, like I look at you and I'm like, fucking working out must be easy. like, he must just love to work out. And I know that's bullshit, like every day.
Oh yeah,
He hates it, dude. Sometimes it's a struggle for him to get into the
day.
gym.
Oh, dude.
Most often
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we move up in our positions, you know, and we start making better money and people are like, oh, it's easy for you to buy dinner for yourself, you know, you look at all the money you make and it's not, you know, the decisions remain difficult, but our ability to make them get a little bit more manageable.
Right, and more routine.
Right? Like it gets a little bit more manageable to be able to make the decision to not go to a fucking bar for no reason.
Yes.
Yeah. It
Just
gets
because
a
they have
little-
good food or just, yeah.
the excuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I did this stuff and I continue to do this stuff every day.
Yeah.
You know, I have an affirmation written on every mirror in my house, which I need to rewrite now. They're pretty faded. But it says, if my child used this excuse, would it be okay? And I look at it every day when I get up.
It's a good point.
And I try to talk myself out of laying down, you know. Training for this marathon's been a motherfucker, man. You know, like, so getting into fitness, like I did the remodel for the Goal Foundation, who puts on the Ogden Marathon. Right. When they moved out of the bank over here and across the street on Washington Boulevard, I did that remodel for the company that I work for. Same company that we did this building with. And I thought, shit, I could fucking do that.
Right.
Why not me? You know? and I
Yeah,
tried it. And it sucked.
So is this your first? This isn't your first one.
This is my first full.
your first full. So
Yeah.
you've done a half.
I've done 3 halves and a 30K, and I did the Spartan last year.
Nice.
Yeah. Brutal.
What do you like about exercise?
Nothing.
Yeah, but you obviously like something. I mean, do you like? I mean, so this is what I like about it is, like Frank said, like I mean, I train hard and I stay on it. And like this morning, dude, I've been down. It's been hard. This last week, I've been pretty. It's been hard in my head. You know how you get, and I haven't. My motivation's been down. But I go in and I train, dude, and I can just, you know, nothing can get inside. So when I'll do like these different energy system training, like an aerobic, you know, where it's uncomfortable, like, you know, 10 shouldered overhead, 15 calorie row, 15 kettlebell swings, 10 burpees, 5 rounds, you know, where you're moving and you're way uncomfortable and your heart rate's up and but like all of a sudden, all that shit that I had out there that I was kind of worried about and the dread and just not wanting to call people back and shit like that. Now I can't, none of that can get in. And I'm just in this weird state where I can barely hear the music. And I'm just like, it's uncomfortable and I like it. I'm just like, and then I get done with it and I'm laying on my back and I go right into prayer. You know, like meditation. Thank you for this workout. I feel so good. Like I'm thankful for my kids, man. This is badass.
That's good.
Like, and now it's like that endorphins is lifting me up to where, and then I'm freaking texting everybody afterwards and saying, bro, I'm sorry, like, or calling my wife, telling her sorry for being an asshole, you know.
And like we talked about
Like-
too, those little victories help like translate into life too. So going in and making yourself uncomfortable makes you more capable to deal with the uncomfortabilities and difficulties of life itself, even if it's not
Yeah.
even related to exercise or the gym. Dealing with your kids, dealing with work, dealing with bills, whatever.
That's the thing right there.
Yeah.
Like that's what I found early on in my workouts, because I showed you the picture of
Yeah.
me at
Oh yeah.
at you know
330 pounds.
325 plus. You know, I would go to the gym for I said I have to go for 15 minutes, and I would go for 15 minutes, and that would give me a win. And because I had such a low self-esteem my whole life, right? Like I never appreciated anything that I had. That included my body, that included my looks, that included my brains, that included my fingers, that included my ability, my strength, you know, naturally strong, my ability to work, my ability to learn. I never
Right.
appreciated any of that. I always had a low self-esteem. I never, you know, for fuck's sakes, like never thought anybody could like me.
Right.
And so those things, the workout, the step work, you know, when I completed the 12 steps, it was the first thing I know for sure I completed.
Right.
And that created a strength in me.
Without cheating or without
Yeah.
skating through.
That's what
Because
I
you got your
completed.
GED and stuff like that.
I
but-
completed.
Right.
You know, and in fact, with my GED, the counselors did let me cheat. Like they gave me extra time
Yeah.
on it. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they let me, and,
But not with the steps.
but not with the steps. You know, and I completed that. And then
You're accountable to yourself.
when
and your
I
sponsor.
complete a 15-minute workout at 325 pounds, I completed that. You know, I
Yeah.
set that goal, and then that
Damn.
continues on through the rest of what I want my life to look at. You know, the way that we do the steps. You know, and after step 7, with us, we do a 7-step prayer, written 7-step prayer that. Because I don't know what else to call it, which is basically a short paragraph of affirmations of if you believe in God, it's something that you say to him. If you don't believe in God, it's something that you say to yourself every day for 6 months,
Right.
because that's what I did. Right. And then you do a vision for you before you go into step 8, which is a written down, the written down version of the highest version of yourself. What do you think the highest version of you is supposed to look like? And I did mine during a fast in vow of silence at a monastery up in Ogden Canyon. I did mine, and I wrote about my family, my children, what kind of father I am. And I say what kind of father I am because at the time it's not what I was, it was what I wanted to be.
Right.
Kind of father I am, what kind of husband I am, what kind of brother I am, what kind of son I am, what kind of employee I am, what kind of boss I am, Where am I? How do I take care of my body? What are my workouts? What are my finances? How am I with my community? You know, I don't get to just pick and choose what parts of me I want the world to see, because everybody is affected by my behavior. I'm the dad, and what I do affects everybody in my life, right? I'm counted on, I'm depended on today. You know, I can make or break any situation that I'm around.
Yeah.
I've always been able
Me
to.
too.
I've always been in a room, and I can either take that room in a positive direction,
Yeah.
or I can run that motherfucker into the
Me
ground.
too.
And it's my choice, right? Like, she has no reason to be afraid of me coming home, ever. You know, when I come home, it is always a celebration. Always. When I walk through the door, everybody feels better, as it should be, because I'm the dad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm dad, and
Yeah,
that
I like
matters,
that.
right? That matters. And so my workout,
You weren't always like this.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I've talked about this before. I talk about it a lot, but that's when you hear people say like they're grateful for being an alcoholic or addict or whatever. I truly, like, I used to be so confused. Like, why would you be grateful for all this shit? And now I get it. And now I feel that gratitude, because without these problems, I wouldn't have a reason to look deep inside, do the work, do the self-reflection. Like you were saying, all that stuff you did, you wouldn't have had a reason to do it
No.
otherwise. So many people just skate by, or like you said, have the excuses, or, you know, have a little bit of cognitive dissonance in their head, but just, you know, whatever, I can, you know, keep on pushing things away, or keep on, like, you know, barely making it through life. But none of us really would have had a real reason, like a life or death situation, to want to look inwards or change without this.
Yeah,
And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do that and do the kind of reflection that you were able to do on yourself,
So
and
lucky.
still continue to do
I'm so lucky
to be a better person.
Yeah. You know, and this disease is so fucking strange. You know, early on in recovery, you know, and I bring this up, like the addict's unwillingness to fight for their own lives blows me away, because if somebody, like, let's say somebody's coming at you with a knife,
Yeah.
you're fucking on.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not stabbing me, bud.
Yeah.
Right? But let you know,
When the disease comes at you.
same addict, yeah. Oh, my wife said something that offends me,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to get fucked up. Like there's zero fight, and there's nothing
Right.
more noble than a person fighting for their own lives, you know. And it's so
Amen.
we're so disconnected from the reality of that, you know, because unfortunately, like me, I don't know that I would die right away. And I don't know that I have another sobriety in me.
Right.
This one was too hard. And so
You just
I
carry
have
that
to,
misery through to everyone in your world until you're gone.
and that's the thing, is unfortunately we're loved, right?
Yes.
Like, unfortunately we're loved. And so the people around us, you know, like, come in the basement. Why the fuck are you sleeping in the basement still? You know? And they're affected by it.
Right.
It scares them, you know? It scares them. It confuses them, because we're loved. And so I think I owe it to everybody around me to fight for this thing with all I have in me, which means going to meetings, working with the new guy. You know, I don't go to meetings for me anymore. I don't know that I have to. I go for the new person because I have to.
Right.
I have to have the new man in my life.
They're the most important person at the
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, because I can't give this away without them,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have to go to meetings. I have to sponsor. I have to find other alcoholics. I have to work with my sponsor. You know, I have to
Yeah, it
exercise.
keeps it alive.
I have to exercise, because I cannot get fat again. It's
Right.
too hard on me spiritually. It's too hard on me emotionally. My self-esteem goes to shit. My work ethic goes to shit. My drive goes down. I cannot get fat like that ever again.
Right.
You know, so I have to work out. You know, I have to work. You know, the thing that I love about getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym when I do is knowing that I've been at the gym for an hour and a half when I get to work.
That's what.
And then I outwork everybody in the room. You know,
Right.
there's no excuse for any person to ever go to bed not exhausted from their day. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
None, because this is it. You know, one of the things that I love best about not believing in deity or an afterlife is that this is all I got.
I
There's
think
no
that's
there's
beautiful
no
too,
payoff
yeah.
at the end. You know, there's not a second chance. There's not a do-over. What I do matters. This is it. This is the show. You know, and I spend a lot of time on that stuff. You know, and a lot of this stuff it's not original. You know, the things that I have are things that I've either heard or processed or agreed to. You know, took on and said, you know, I want to make that mine also. You know,
Right.
you know, we get 86,400 seconds a day. And that one just counted, right?
Yeah.
That one just counted. It's never going to go back the other way. And I don't want to waste my death.
Yeah.
You know? I get one. And I want to be very present when it happens.
That reminds me of something my
Yeah.
cousin said to me
That is
when
badass.
I was like, I was
is.
suicidal in my addiction, and almost like you said, that other people caring for you was the worst thing. That's like what I wished more than anything, was that my family would stop caring about me. 'Cause
Sure.
it made it so much more painful. I was like,
Sure.
I just want to be able to use, and whatever happens, happens. But I remember one time, like, my cousin could tell I was going through that, and that, like, I didn't really say anything, but I was like contemplating ending my own life. And he was like, dude, you don't have to do that. That's the one thing that's already taken care of for. Like, you don't have to plan out your death. You're already going to die, dude. Like, that's the
Guaranteed.
one thing in your life that's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed,
bro.
yeah.
Why would you, like, that's the one thing you don't have to work for.
It's
And
going to happen.
Yeah, for some reason
That's
that
great.
really, like, stuck out in my mind. And just the idea of, like, this is the one, this is the show, this is it. Like, that gives me more motivation than
That's
if there
great.
were a heaven or hell that I was, like, trying to prepare for, you know, some, like, whatever you call it, rapture or something, that I'm going to be judged. Like, the fact that this is it makes me even more motivated.
Yeah. This is
Agreed.
it.
Make the death count. Make your life count.
Make every second count.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do
Beautiful.
that? How do you do that?
One thing you know, I've known Willie for probably over a year now.
Well,
been-
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
since you were
it-
Valley.
Yeah. So I worked for you for a while, and you know, and started out really well, and then like I started doing just what you said, like stop talking to sponsor, you know, stop showing up for life.
Were you still
showing
praying?
up for myself?
Were you still praying?
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah.
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 Okay, good.
Well, I don't know.
I was. That's usually the
Yeah,
first
I
thing
usually-
to go
yeah,
for me in my relapses.
I don't-
I'll stop
I don't-
praying, then
But,
I'll stop doing. But it's all connected.
You know, like I stopped showing up for myself every
Right.
day. I stopped showing up for my life. And one thing that I've always admired about you is you show up for your life every single day. And the conversations we had and we still have, like, I mean, this morning we BS'd on the phone, you know, while I was at the train station getting to work, and it was like a playful conversation, but we have those conversations and they mean a lot to me, because I know that Willie's not bullshitting me.
No.
We might talk shit to each other, but Willie's, he has thought this stuff through, and I know he's not just spitting from the top of his head to pacify me or to get through a conversation. It's like shit, like, is thought out. And I love having those conversations, even though there's a lot of stuff we disagree on theologically and all that kind of stuff.
Little
But
theology differences.
you know, in just getting sober this last time, I had to challenge my preconceived notions of who God is, and was I following a God that I believed in, or was I following a God that my parents believed in,
Right.
or that I was fed as a kid, and there's some difference in those, and that's okay.
Right.
And I'm still on that journey of learning that, but I had that same feeling, like everybody gets it, and somewhere in me I know that I don't get it. I'm not sold, or I'm not on that spiritual plane, even though I know everything, you know,
Right.
that I could possibly, you know, fit into my head about this stuff. it's my actions aren't lining up with what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And just those conversations and challenging me to actually do the work and to search those things out have changed my life drastically.
Thank you.
In a year, I've changed tremendously as a person.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I believe that thoroughly,
I agree.
and I'm sure, you know, like just seeing me, you know, I was a shitty employee.
Yeah.
When I worked for Willie, and I tried really hard not to be a shitty employee, but I couldn't hold it together because I was suffering from untreated alcoholism.
Right.
You know, for a great length of time, I wasn't using when I was working for Willie, and towards the end I was, but I was still living a life of untreated alcoholism because I wasn't addressing the shit that I knew that wasn't correct, and Willie was bringing it up, and it was like it was eating me alive inside, and like, and but no one had ever talked to me like that. No one had ever questioned me like that. Like I'm like just like Willie was talking about. I can walk into a room and I can either make or break that room. Like we're gifted in that sort of way, personality wise.
Yeah. You can't get around Dan and not feel good.
You know,
You
we have a
can't.
good time.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a fun, you know, always a good experience. But being challenged and going and like relapsing and going to jail and Willie going, hey man, you think you're done? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I think I'm done. Fuck, I hope so. Man, because you know, you're probably going to die. You know? And he says it in a way where he's like, I'm like, I'm probably going to die. But not like, it's not like he's coming down on me. He's being so truthful, but delivery is so on point that because he's been through it. And that's how we do this thing. That's how we do this thing. Alcoholics have gone through the same thing, and they in a common bond, and we can sit and like Don doesn't even know Willie, and we're up here, you know, getting ready, and Don's down there like chopping it up with Willie, and like the common bond that we can have just in a short conversation. When Dustin met you the other day, and then you left, and Dustin was like, that's why I love this life, because I just met that guy and he's my brother.
Yeah.
That is cool. You know, and we get to do that shit every single day. We get to live this life. And that's like, that gets me so fired up. It's so much fun.
So like the whole, sorry, I was just got to go back to like the prayer thing.
Okay.
Going
I
back
tried
to-
it.
Dustin's wheels are spinning.
Well, so yeah, I'm just thinking because like when I got into prayer, like I did it with like, I tied it a lot in with like exercise. So like I remember specifically when I was really getting into it, I was doing a lot of track work. Like I'd go to a track and run sprints, and I'd run up and down the football field, and then on my walk back, like I'd get into gratitude. And it wasn't really at the beginning, it wasn't God. It was more like just doing gratitude, you know, to help, because I'd be having cravings and I was struggling in my mind. I was trying to let the endorphins from the exercise help me to change my thinking, and then I was forcing gratitude in at the same time, even though I wasn't even really feeling it. But like, and I noticed I would change my thinking, right? Like I'd come out of there positive, be back with my wife and kids, and be on point again. But then it rolled into prayer, where I got into God. I told you I got into the Mormon Church, you know, and the Mormon Church, has done everything for me, you know, like, you know, my
Two-way street.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
You've done plenty for them. Too,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Right.
no, yeah, oh yeah, dude, I love it. I got involved in their cause, and my wife ended up getting into it with me like 4 years after I got into it. She, and then we got our kids into it, and then we went through the temple, but I'm scared, like, man, like I'd be so scared, dude, I'm always like worried about my kids, like, and I know you are too, like, and I don't know, and I'm always like, I like the idea, like the temple really was like cool to me, because then it was like that sealing our family together, that, you know, that doctrine.
it was
I mean,
a
for the
ceremony.
afterlife.
Yeah, the and the ceremony and the covenants that we made in the temple is like a family, and it was just a sick little, like,
Well, we do that too.
It's just
Yeah,
an ideal.
right.
That,
yeah, it's just a
picture
different
that's painted. That
yeah,
you
like a
try to
but,
live up to.
you know,
Well, it's
you
your
know,
time frame, like right now, it being all versus an eternity. Not that it changes
Well, yeah,
the same
like-
thing if you live the
and
way
like
that-
whether it's you believe it or not, that's just what I've chosen to believe.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And it's beautiful in my mind. You know.
As it should, as it
Yeah,
better be.
Yeah, it better
Right.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and so it's just interesting how. But I like what you're saying too. You know what I'm saying? I see. I'm
They can be
glad
the same
I
thing.
talked to you about that, and I heard what you had to say about it because I see what you're saying, and I have a whole nother perspective on. Like,
Good.
I don't
you know
see
what
a
I-
difference. My friends always used to come to me in high school and like just with like different arguments, like, well, what do you see? And I'll be like, I see the same thing. Be like, well, who's right? And I'd
I'm
be like,
totally with you.
you guys are both right. I don't see a difference between what you guys are. I think you guys are just looking at the same thing in different ways.
With
Yeah.
a different lens.
Yeah, for me, it's like the same thing. Like
Same
what
result.
Will's talking about and what Dustin's talking about believes. It's the same thing, but you guys are just looking at it from different angles, and that's like what I see. I don't see like a difference necessarily of truth there.
Well,
There's
They
just a
both- they
difference
both
of
result.
opinion of how you guys are describing it.
Yeah.
people are people.
Well, they both
Yeah.
result in you being the best people you possibly can be right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, dude, this is the most Christ-like dude I know.
That's what fucking Dan told me one time. too.
Yeah, bro.
Bullshit.
Like,
It's because you haven't seen my Instagram.
No, but
well, no, your
you're
character
saying-
though, like I'm taking a lot from what you said, dude, and I want to go home and make it happen with my kids.
You should.
True.
Like I like what you're saying.
You
I come home an
absolutely
ornery
should.
asshole,
Yeah.
you know, and I got to
They
be
deserve
better.
They deserve better.
Yeah,
Your
like,
dad.
You know, not every time. Like, gosh, hopefully I'm doing a good job.
I think you are, dude.
No, but like what you're
But-
talking about,
but-
like, I is what I believe is that showing in my actions.
Exactly.
And that's why I always like mess with William. I'm like, dude, you're the best Christian I know.
Yeah.
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 Even though you're not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because what I was taught what that looked like, or what, like, if I read the Bible and Jesus is like, hey, this is how you should act. Charity, working with people who are like less fortunate or struggling,
Right.
being a good father.
Service.
Living by values.
Kids
There's
matter,
a
as opposed
first
to kids
first and second
being
Timothy
pushed
and
away.
Titus will tell you exactly what you're supposed to do if you were going to be a Christian, just so you know.
Right.
Go read that before you decide.
What is it? I don't know.
It's 3 books in the Bible.
Yeah. Oh, I know, but what does it say?
Oh, you're saying all 3 books.
Like
Yeah,
what-
first and second Timothy and Titus
Gotcha.
are
They talk about attributes?
Books, are books written in the New Testament that if you
Basically values.
if you want to be
Christ-like.
if you want to be a teacher of the gospel,
Right.
ask me how I know,
You've done it.
because I've studied it.
Right, exactly.
Oh yeah, I can tell you studied it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go read that.
It's interesting what
I was miserable,
different
but I tried.
when you were.
I tried. That's not me.
Yeah.
That's not who I am, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You know, but if I'm gonna have an opinion about something, you know, I probably, in the big book says, you know, what does it say exact?
Contempt prior to investigation.
Contempt prior to investigation. You know, nothing will
One
keep a
will
man
keep a man
in everlasting ignorance.
everlasting ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
prior to
Contempt.
contempt,
Contempt prior to
prior to
investigation.
investigation. So if you have an opinion about abortion, or the Satanists, or a cult, or drug addicts, or Christians, or
Better
Muslims,
know what they believe.
you probably ought to go and see for sure what they believe, not what your pastor told you, or your parents, or your girlfriend, or go ask one of them.
Right.
We live in a society where we live in a time where absolute information is at our fingertips, and everybody's willing to talk about what they believe and why. There's no reason to make any of that shit up. If you believe something and that's what you believe, you're going to talk about what you believe. You're not going to, you know,
Right.
well, you should.
Right.
But if you got questions about it, you know, before you decide this, that, or the other about a different person or different whatever.
Yeah.
Go study it.
That's like with the Book of Mormon, man. Like I've got into I love the Book of Mormon.
Pretty brutal.
I don't know
love the
shit
Book of
about
Mormon.
it, dude.
Well, but that's the thing. There's so much of that going on. Like people, and they've never read it.
Well, before
You know,
I
right.
moved to Utah, I thought this was so whack just based off like South Park episodes I've seen or what I've
Right.
heard, and I don't know crap about it, dude. And like I still notice it inside me, like well, a little thought or judgment, like when I think about like certain facets of it, and then like I have to check myself. I'm like, I don't know crap about this, dude.
Right.
Like it's just like a thought I have based on what other people have said, or like based on these abstract like ideas that I've put together that aren't from the source.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that mirrors what you'd said about not having or contempt prior to judgment, is what leads to ignorance, right? But it is what you said, Frank, about whether you're choosing to believe in God or choosing not to believe in God, which were the two options you mentioned in the big book. You said it's just that willingness to consider both, right?
If you have the
Is-
willingness, yeah.
to really truly consider both, and I think
Exactly.
that shows not being contemptuous prior to investigation.
That's
It's
the
just
most
willingness
important
to
like asset of your character, I think, that's needed to start the foundation of
Right.
sobriety. But it's so important, like regardless of
well,
it.
with any choice you make, right?
Yeah.
With any choice you make is fully evaluating either the directions and then making an informed decision.
and then just being cool,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
cool
there's,
about
there's no
both
re-
sides.
there's
like,
no reason.
Right,
to do
exactly.
Let's not get into be argument.
Who's a
and-
judge? Who here can really
Who's
be
right?
a judge?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
You're-
and that goes back to my belief that we are absolutely connected.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I cannot do something in a room without it affecting the people around us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in any way, like you can't be in a
Don't
room where somebody
live in a
gets
vacuum.
shot
Yeah.
and not be affected by that, and you can't be in a room where somebody is crying and not be affected by that. Like babies affect people. Old people affect people. What you do matters. And it all. I think that we have to learn one of the greatest mistakes in sobriety is the belief that we're never able to trust ourselves. Like I hear it all the time. Like I can't, God is there, God did all of it. God, this, and for me, I take it all the way back to conception, because if I don't believe in God, I was conceived and my mother was the host of my embryo. And even at conception, I did everything I could to survive. I built my eyes. I built my bones. I did that shit.
Right.
And if I can do that, I can fucking certainly fight for my life now, because I didn't know shit. I was an embryo, but it was me. Right? I was a fetus, and then
The code in your DNA.
yeah,
Yeah, and you were in true survival mode then. I mean, right? You're facing all types of things when you're a
Yeah.
baby, and you're not even you're
I
not even
don't
thinking about it.
I
You're
don't
just
give a
doing
fuck about what you think I look
it.
like.
Yeah, you're just doing it.
I'm busy building bones,
Busy growing. Yeah.
busy growing organs.
Right.
And then I come out here and I get wrapped up in what doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to be cool versus trying to be loving.
Right.
Giving a fuck about the people that need my help, that need me to look them in the eye and say, I see you. And
Right.
you don't have to do this. Ask me how I know. Right.
Yeah.
That affects people.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. This has been good. There was one thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know, maybe this can be our last little topic, but I wanted to bring it up on the show before, and I don't know if it's the right time, but it might be. Let's talk.
Shoot it from the hip, baby.
Well, it just, I look at the traditional treatment, and where it's going. Like a lot of the steps are getting taken out of treatment. Have you guys noticed that?
Is it working?
Well, that's why I kind of wanted to open up a discussion about it. Like, a lot of
define working.
a lot of
People staying sober,
a
and
lot
having
of-
a quality life.
yeah, a lot of treatment centers
Hard
are
to
taking
say.
out. They say, like treatment centers, they say, well, the steps are free. Why would we offer that at our treatment? Why would we offer that at our treatment center?
Yeah.
you know. And you know, spiritually, this is the way I think about it. I mean, because I believe in God and I believe in Satan, and
Do you really?
yeah, you know that.
I didn't think about Satan.
Well,
Isn't that
but,
interesting?
But
Yeah.
listen, but
Yeah.
but the way I you know, I look at this war, and I feel like the steps are just such a solid way to lead people in the right direction, you know. Or it could be, let's just say, energies, you know, a dark energy.
No, you
like,
can stick to
yeah,
your thing. I
God or
understand.
Satan.
I understand it.
And I feel like that on that level, that these steps in this book's trying to get pushed on the spiritual level, is trying to get taken out of treatment. You know what I'm saying? And I know,
Let's try it.
yeah. I mean, and so I you
let
know,
them
I don't
try
know
it.
statistics. Don knows more about statistics than some of you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say.
but it's hard to say. You know,
You can't
I
believe
just
the
wonder
statistics
when you
much.
take the steps out of the program. Yeah, you know,
So the
how does
steps-
it work? What are we teaching them? Just about the relapse cycle? Like, what are the programs that are put in?
Playing fucking shoots and ladders.
Can you?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you from
So
someone who went
this
through.
is something I don't know. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just trying to bring up a
It's
discussion on
interesting.
Well, I'll just say
what's
this.
going on in the treatment centers if we're getting people away from the steps.
What were you gonna say?
Well,
Don?
I can just say this from somebody who had to go through Odyssey House and was there 2 years. You know, no joke, the steps weren't in there. It was now they'll have meetings and things like that, but there were no 12 steps. But I really did go through each one of those 12 steps through a different teaching.
Yeah.
So I think in situations there are programs just like Frank saying earlier at dinner how war really does capture every element of the 12 steps. Although it's not structured that way, but you also include it. I think that what you're bringing up, Dustin, which is definitely true, is treatment centers that are out there that at least don't compensate for any other way, don't compensate for that thorough inventory and evaluation of yourself to where you really get to know yourself and you create a set of values that you decide to live by. I
The
think that's what's
self
important.
Evaluation.
Exactly. And then deciding who you want to be and then having a set of values that you live by and are held accountable to those, whether it be other people at first, but eventually yourself. I think that the places that eliminate that, which there certainly are numerous examples of, are the ones that I personally think are doomed to fail, because if it's just replacing it with a massage and, you know, good movies and things like that, I don't think you're going to really create too many opportunities for people to
Right.
evaluate their self and decide who they want to be and how they want to live.
Well, it's like even like the working out stuff, like in war. Like we run a program, like, but the working out doesn't get people sober. You know what I'm saying? Like
It's just another
it's
tool.
but it's a tool to help people compete with their cravings, to feel better about themselves, like we use it, to body composition. But
I
like,
think it makes
but-
people evaluate themselves, dude. I really do.
Well, yeah, but
Definitely.
it's that program, that spiritual program.
In a vacuum, though, the gym doesn't keep you sober.
Right.
Yeah. Some people I've seen get into the gym way hard, and then they don't do any of the spiritual. And then it's almost like they're just
smile
wrapped.
goes away.
They're just wrapped up in the gym. You know, now they're just way too wrapped up in the gym. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a gym guy.
Yeah, exactly.
you need to calm down in the gym.
What happens when an injury comes along?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is it can't keep me sober because it's not a thorough examination of like myself and how I work
right.
as a human being. Like I can get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, but if I don't know what happens, like
If science
when
could cure addiction, it would have.
yeah.
Science may
Yeah,
one day
and if I could
accomplish this.
learn enough in order
Magic
to
pill.
combat my addiction,
If they
then I
if
would
they
have been
could
sober a long time
perform
ago.
a surgery or give us a medication, they would.
Right.
We've watched them try. How many medications are there? Methadone, Suboxone,
And abuse.
Antabuse. That
Yeah.
one for when you drink. If you fucking
Vivitrol.
Yeah,
yeah.
naltrexone.
right.
Well, yeah, just everything.
I
I
saw
don't
every
know.
other
All
med
the-
under
all
the
the-
planet
all
too.
the-
I don't
gimmick
know
ones, they're trying-
anybody that stays sober after taking that shit. Personally,
if that's what they're doing.
And even the ones they're doing with like I don't know. I get into this. I don't know. I'm not too well informed, but even because it's like you have to change character. So
Yeah.
like the treatment you went and did, where you did the Ibogaine clinic, or
Yeah.
like that type of shit, I could see maybe it works. I don't know. I
Well,
haven't seen statistics, but
Yeah, the Ibogaine one was, I mean, it's a very interesting thing, but what it's supposed to do for the people that it works for is take them on a spiritual journey where they technically go on, they have 12 years of psychotherapy condensed into 12 hours, where they actually do a full evaluation. For me, it wasn't that. It didn't end up being all of that for me,
Well,
so it didn't work.
something-
But some people it works for.
I saw something on social media that irritated me the other day. It's my friend, and she's a doctor. She's my friend's mom, and she's a doctor. And she was posting this thing about Ibogaine because she works closely with the Ibogaine clinic in Mexico.
Right.
But like her posts, like most of it was bagging on like the 12 steps, and like I got offended and I took it personally. I was like, blah
Sure.
blah blah blah.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
this is how I believe, and like fuck that.
Right.
But then I was thinking, like,
Contempt prior to investigation.
right. Well, not that, like, I just didn't like the way she was approaching it because I thought she was misinformed
Sure.
about AA, and she's like, it's just a self-help group, like blah 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 blah. That's what it is.
Right.
But this way, Ibogaine is designed, and then went into all the.
This is the
effects of
right
that.
way.
But seeing her thing made me like not like Ibogaine, where I was like, well, they can both coexist in the same thing, and like I think that people or doctors in the U.S. should be way more open to that as part of a detox method.
Absolutely. For a
'Cause if we-
detox, for sure.
More the better, But I just it made me irritated the way she was approaching it by like first bagging on AA and saying it doesn't work.
Right.
It
Sounds like a marketing pitch.
Whatever, but Ibogaine does work, and I was like,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Well, but
I think
as someone
I
who's
don't know
done
what
it,
is.
Both.
as someone who
Never
does it,
heard
I
of
could agree with you. I could
It's
agree
a-
with your point, though, as someone who's
It's a
done it.
psychedelic. It's almost like doing like
Like a
acid.
mushroom.
It's the strongest
Like
psychedelic on the
mushrooms,
planet.
yeah.
It's
It's
known
like
as the strongest psychedelic on
So
the
you,
planet.
it's like you're
Yeah.
taking acid or peyote.
And it's not a relapse.
No,
Well,
it's a detox
you do it
method.
as part of a detox.
It's a detox, not a
what
relapse.
you do,
Oh, fuck,
well,
sign
so,
me up.
So here's what it was briefly, and I talked about it in my episode. But I went, and they actually, before I decided to go, they said they were going to get me on, narcotics, like on oxys, until you got there. Then once you get there, you take morphine, and then once your day of the Ibogaine treatment goes, and there's actually amazing documentaries about it that where an addict accidentally took it and it cured him of his disease.
There's
But
a lot to be said.
there's
for
a lot to
what
be
it can do.
Yeah, it can literally. It comes from a root in Africa, from the iboga plant, and what it does is it takes you on this spiritual journey that's
Like
about 12
ayahuasca,
to 36.
but
No,
not-
not like that. It's not
It
a
is
pleasant
like that.
experience.
Oh.
Well, but those can be dark too. But people often see just the most ridiculous demons, but it's the most intense psychedelic there is on the planet in terms of like what it does for your body. But what it does do, this is what it definitely does do, is you're an opiate addict. I don't care how long you've been using. Right when you wake up, your detox is over. Your physical detox is done. It is completely done. You're done with that part of your addiction.
Then you're dealing with the
Now, exactly. That's the part that's an issue, and why I could see why Frank would be initially
Well,
offended,
that's what
because
it's-
it doesn't address that.
That's what it's supposed to partially address that. 'Cause
Well, certainly.
my view is, regardless of if you take ayahuasca or DMT or
Right.
acid or mushrooms, if you do any of that in active addiction, I think you're going to be uncomfortable as fuck because you're going to look at what
I
you're
agree.
doing and
I
be
think
so.
uncomfortable
I
with
think
the
so.
way you're living your life.
Absolutely.
Because
I
in
can't
active
take
addiction, you're able to push that shit down, and it doesn't.
But that makes you
matter.
look at it.
But it brings it to the surface and forces you to deal with it, which is part of
Okay,
the
that's just
Ibogaine
like when I
process.
used to
Right.
smoke
Very
weed.
much part of the Ibogaine
Yeah,
process.
like when you used to smoke weed and be like, "Fuck, what am I doing with my life?"
Yeah, I used to smoke weed, like to not do pills. I'd smoke weed, and the paranoia from the weed would trip me out about the pills. So I wouldn't do,
You deserve it.
Well, yeah, like
so I
a lot
wouldn't
of
do the
people-
pills. I'd be like, I'm ruining my. It almost like created a heightened awareness. So that's
Right.
what you're saying,
Yeah,
right, Frank?
yeah.
Well, like it's a lot of that stuff's designed to make you literally look at yourself. So
Look
like
inward.
a step 4 is going to make me look at my fears
Right.
and what makes me uncomfortable enough to create like a cycle of
Bad habits.
inflicting pain on other people or whatever in order to feel different about like what's going on inside of me, like fears and all that kind of stuff and harms that you've had. And as far as I know, like ayahuasca, like you're facing that audibly and visually by a psychedelic state, but you're facing your dark shit, and that's what that's what the 12 steps causes me to do.
Yeah. So that's
Is face my dark stuff,
But like-
and then move forward.
Yeah.
I think it
Process
might
that
work,
and move forward.
but people need to continue to do stuff.
That's
Yeah.
completely spot on, man. I
Well,
agree with that.
it's like this
Some
guy.
people have not needed to, but they might be a different
Yeah.
situation than you or me.
Yeah. Well, Will said he needed to continue to live life like this to like keep himself spiritually fit. It's not just one and done.
Exactly.
That's what I think it's like with Ibogaine. It might work because, dude, when I took acid for the first time, I was like a junior in high school. It changed. I became a vegetarian for 6 months. My grades went up. I was more
Yeah,
helpful at home.
big change.
Everyone in my life,
Hippie.
my teachers, my mom, everyone in my life was
Noticed it.
like, wow, like, what have you been doing? Like, whatever you're doing, like, keep on doing it. And I did one thing, which was take acid. It
Right.
made me a different person. I got into Buddhism, all this shit.
Right.
Made
And
me a
then
different
I
person,
didn't
too.
keep doing. So I didn't keep doing stuff. It was like one thing,
Right.
And then I kept being me, and my character defects crept back in. I
They
just kept smoking
gradually-
weed, and then I just like went back to normal.
Yeah.
So that's what I think Ibogaine might do. Is like might show you something, but you need to
Wow.
continue to do
I
something
agree.
to maintain
Just-
your.
And it gives you the benefit of getting rid of your withdrawal. That's
Yeah,
that's the main
that's
like that's
important. Yeah,
that's one of the things that I think separates it from the others is, and it's all natural. You know, it's literally from the root. It
That's important.
eliminates your withdrawal. But the problem is people lean on that as a crutch. But although some people again will have that experience where it's like 12 years of psychotherapy in 12 to 36 hours, which is, you know, ayahuasca, DMT, these are much shorter acting things. Ibogaine's a very long experience, but like exactly what Frank said, you have to have something that you keep going to live normal life,
And change
where
your
you-
character, like
Yeah.
Justin said.
Yeah, like yeah,
change
which
your
is what the
character
steps
and deal
do.
with life on
You've
life's
been through
terms.
them like 3 times, and you didn't arrive at this moment.
Right
you didn't-
now, I'm working the steps of OA.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
What's that?
Overeaters.
Overeaters.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I've
Oh,
been wanting
really?
to
I thought you
do
mean
the-
Ogden Anonymous for some
working it
reason.
on my food.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do the Coda steps for a while. So one of my good friends is a heroin addict, said the 12 steps of like Codependence Anonymous helped him way more than the AA
I've
steps.
heard that too.
I think
Yeah,
it'd
we
be
start.
cool.
I mean, we get sober and we start finding out what our real problems are.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Which then is something else to work on and improve even more.
I thought it was just because I did too much heroin and meth.
Right. Yeah. Never is the problem, man.
Yeah.
It was the solution. The
Yeah.
problem is with the way we're living.
Well, bro, I'm glad we had you on. I want to let you guys get back to your kids. I know it's getting late, but
Yeah, I got a marathon tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you got to rest,
Freaking
man.
a
Dude.
literal marathon.
Yeah, I
to
can't.
run.
26 miles. I can't believe you're.
26.2.
26.2.
And I'm certain it'll fucking rain.
And those 0.2 matter. Trust me.
It
I'm
does.
Sure they. I couldn't go do 0.2 right now.
I can hardly
does.
run 0.2 on it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, yeah, it's 9:45, man. Thanks for coming
yeah,
up here.
thank
and
you
doing
for
this,
being
both of
on
you.
this, dude. This was awesome.
And
for the
Avery,
people you
awesome
are.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah, dude. You gave me a whole new perspective. That was good.
Nice.
So, I need to get you need to get over at our
I would
gym,
love to.
Yeah, please.
Bro, you're right up
When?
our alley.
Monday,
Yeah, we're just
5
we're
a.m.?
just a little non-profit, dude.
we
Help-
had our baby above your gym, I think.
Really?
Oh, did you with the
At
with,
the
the,
doula.
with the lady?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had our baby in that birthing center.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice, dude. She's what's her name?
Chris.
Chris. She does a good job, dude.
The best.
Did you have all your kids with her?
Nope.
Just one?
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do another one.
Okay.
We
Maybe
want to
we'll
get
have
your
you
story
on
too,
next.
Avery. Yeah,
Avery,
absolutely. If you're willing.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah. Gangster. Like,
Absolutely.
fucking no idea.
Both of you guys are.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody listening.
Thank you.
Where are we at? What are we on?
Episode
we just
8.
did, yeah, season 2, episode 8. But yeah, you can find us on Instagram at War Addiction, Facebook and YouTube at Workout Addiction Recovery as well. WorkoutAddictionRecovery.com. But yeah, this was good shit, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yes.
dinner.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I love you.
My pleasure. Love you too, man. Love you. Thank you.